See this title screen? Yeah, it's simple and straightforward, and that could be said for all of these games, really. Mega Man really is a series of games that goes, what you see is what you get, and that is far from a bad thing. A lot of you know who this guy is, and for those who don't, I'm about to tell you real quick. This is Mega Man, the face that changed action platformers forever. And we're going to go over his humble beginnings and his first entry into what became a long-running series simply titled Mega Man. And humble is certainly a word to be used here. This game is pretty infamous for not being all that great. It actually almost drowned the Blue Bomber into the water had it not been for the overwhelming success of the second game to come afterwards. So what is the deal with this title specifically? Well, Capcom, the company that made Mega Man, initially wanted to make an Astro Boy game but couldn't get the rights. They still had ideas though, so a few notable names, such as Akira Kitamura and Keiji Inafune, molded this initial idea in what would be our Mega Man that we have today. And ideas, I mean, that term doesn't even scratch the surface of the development in this game. There were so many concepts that just didn't make it into the final build, and it's so fascinating to see what Capcom initially had planned for this title. And with the excitement of Dual Override coming out and Mega Man recently joining Sonic Racing Crossworlds, I really think it's important that we talk about his very first game and see where he came from. So without further ado, here's Mega Man 1. So what we have here is simple. 6 stages with a boss at the end of each of them. You pick your poison, get a cool little transition shot of the boss you're going to face, and head right in. Now, Cutman stage is what many people start with, and there's a good number of reasons as to why. The stage is not only easy, but teaches the player of what they're likely going to face in this game as a whole. Mega Man as a series prides itself with having the player pull off perfect precision jumping and shooting, and this stage is a really good example of that. There are moments when you have to take an obstacle out or learn how to maneuver yourself around it. It also shows you a common trend you see in these stages. It first brings forward a certain challenge, and then the next screen has the same challenge, but harder, and that's a good thing. It helps the player learn how to solve the situation without starting off too strong, but by doing it gradually. And then at the end of the stage, we meet, this guy. This is a big guy. These guys are kind of tricky. They have a pattern, sort of, kind of. I've come to find that every time I think I have something figured out in this game, I really don't. But bypassing that, we get into our boss gate, and this is the only game that had enemies in the boss gates, I believe. Not much to say on those, and then we meet our boss, Cutman. Cutman himself is not hard at all. You could get beat up if you just try and plow through him guns blazing, but he's the boss to specifically teach you not to do that. His AI is very easy to figure out, and that's the method of beating these bosses in this game. Figure out their patterns and best them. With Cutman gone, we got our thing, and we move on to the next guy, Gutsman. Gutsman's stage is still pretty simple. You start with these moving conveyor belts that... Okay, you start with these moving conveyor belts that drop you like a rock, so we need to be careful. This is another good example of teaching the player about precision jumping and timing. You'll need that a lot in this game. Other than some enemy placement and the big guy at the end, there isn't much else to say about this stage other than Gutsman itself. You have to be on the ball with him because he can catch you in a stun loop pretty easily, but having patience and knowing when to act, he's another easy boss. This stage and its boss aren't that exciting, but boy oh boy do we have plenty to talk about with the next one on the list. Two words, Iceman. Another 2 words, ice physics. Already not fun, and these enemies aren't making it better. Oh, don't worry though, we have RNG bad guys popping up to make it even more exciting. This next part isn't bad though, it's Yoku Block section, something that would become a staple in the series later on. Start off with something simple and it gradually becomes harder, but nothing a little patient and practice can't conquer. This next part though... This is RNG at its worst. Already the challenge is approaching levels of unfair, but it's incredibly easy to get stuck in a bad situation and fall off. And when you get past that, you get another segment with RNG enemies placed in it because the people who designed this stage have nothing but spite in their hearts, and I've come to believe this to be true. This is one of, if not the worst stage in the game in my opinion, and it's solely because of this segment. Call me a noob all you want, I've never claimed to be good at these games, but this is just ridiculous. When you get past all that, you pass the big eye, that's even harder to get through thanks to the ice physics in this stage, and then you get to Iceman. So, one word of advice. Don't screw up. Iceman himself is just as annoying as his stage. You're stuck in one spot while he fires off at you, and your jumps need to be absolutely perfect or you're getting a ton of damage. Thankfully, the collection has a rewind feature. I've beaten this game like 5 times now. I'm not here to flex. What I am here to do is show you just how perfect you have to be with your jumps. I mean, look at this. There's no room for error. And if you lose all your lives, back through all this shit again.
Let's do it again. I wasn't looking.
Is it even fair to call this a Mega Man boss anymore? I'm playing a goddamn Toho game at this point. Wow, KAG, I didn't know you were such a die-hard Danmaku fan. Yeah, Iceman's not fun, and beating him is definitely a personal victory to anyone playing this game for the first time. Or any time, really. But thankfully, it's over now. So let's move on. Thankfully, the next stage is very easy, one that's arguably easier than Cutman's. Some parts can be overwhelming to some degree, but nothing we haven't dealt with before at this point. We meet another future mainstay of the series, Sniper Joe, and he's also here to test your patience and reaction time. Shoot him just before he fires and jump over his shot. Some RNG placed enemies, a couple of precision jumps and patience, and another Sniper Joe to greet us at the boss gate instead of the big guy, which I will gladly take. A couple of octopus batteries at the end here and there, which as you can see I didn't really care about because Bomb Man is probably just as, if not easier, than Cutman. Yeah, you'll lose if you act like an idiot, but he's super simple to learn and beat. I don't think I even have to explain how he works. You can tell here just from the footage that he's not a challenge at all. Another stage that doesn't have much to talk about, but the next stage is pretty interesting, I'd say. This is, in my opinion, the best looking stage in the game. I'm sure you've noticed by now, but Mega Man 1 as a whole is not pretty to look at for a vast majority of the time. A lot of the backgrounds feel the need to use this bright, distracting blue, and it doesn't help that our player character also happens to be blue. Getting lost on the screen can be pretty easy for some people, including myself, and I'll have a better example of that later. Thankfully, we don't have that issue with Fireman stage, and I don't have too many issues with this stage at all, actually. Not too many, but there are some. There's this one part that you can get through without taking damage. I've done it before, just not here. It's just super precise and really easy to screw up. Other than that, the only criticism I really have with this stage is some of the hazards are a little hard to predict, but that's all I can really complain about. Fireman as a boss is a little tough though. His AI is very specific as to what he does. He fires when you do and always leaves a little flame beneath you, which can be hard to dodge if Fireman shoots more than once. He'll also consistently fire at you if you have your back turned to him, so yeah, don't do that. I used his weakness here to save time, but he's another boss that's very doable with the Buster. You just have to put in a little more time and effort with him. Speaking of effort, that's what we're not going to see with our next stage coming up.
Kneel before Christ! Ah!
This stage encapsulates Mega Man 1 pretty well, and it's the stage most people remember out of the 6 Robot Master stages. You're about to see why. Admittedly, I don't think the stage itself is hard, but I do see where it can get really annoying for a lot of players. Our little floor buddies here don't help. They aren't as hard as they look. I'm just really bad at the game, but that's not the part most people remember. It's this screen. Now, sure, it doesn't look too bad right now. Just shoot the enemies before they shoot you. Simple.
You have done well.
Another screen with the same challenge, but a little harder? Okay, makes sense. We've seen that before, and it's still very doable here. Well, here's the next part. Another Yoku block section, but much smaller and not as fun. For whatever reason, this block likes to slide you around. It could potentially drop you 3 screens down, making you repeat all your progress because this game was made with sticks and glue. Yeah, this part isn't hard, but it's certainly annoying. But when we get past that and move on, we come to find that this stage has some really annoying enemy placement, but I wouldn't say it's the worst the game has to offer. Also that's the magnet beam, and the major reason why people go for Elect Man last. You need this to complete the game, don't skip it. And is what gets a lot of people here because it's really easy to lose your patience and get reckless, and that's ultimately what did me in here. And I think the worst part about this stage really is that it feels too long. I think Fireman stage was actually longer, but I don't know, it just overstays its welcome really fast. The big guy here is especially troublesome because we have little to no room to work with, but once we get past him, Electman. Oh my gosh, is he the boss of all time. Now, what I managed to catch here is the famous loop you can get him into, and while it's easy to get out of the rhythm, he'll be whittled down to so much to where it really won't be an issue anymore. Also considering he'll likely be the last guy you'll face, and his weakness makes him die instantly, so he's only really difficult if you let him be. However, I don't want to write him off because of this easy exploit. I do want to show how Electman can actually be as a boss, and trust me, he can be hard. A lot of this footage is from the refight you'll see later on in the game. Yep, those exist! But I really tried to see if Electman had any sort of method of beating him that didn't involve the exploit. And while I think you can kinda predict him and try to control his movements to some degree, I'm just not good enough to pull it off. All I can tell you is he'll jump when you shoot and there's a rhythm to his shots. I think it's 3 in a row, I think. What mainly got me a majority of the time is his contact damage, actually. He really likes to ram into you a lot and doesn't jump very high, giving you very little room to work with. He also can delay his jumps, so you can't faithfully predict where he's going to go half the time. It also doesn't help that I think Electman has no business having as much health as he does. He's far from squishy just with the Buster. Electman is infamous for being very erratic and hard to predict, so most people just cheese him or use his weakness, and honestly, I don't blame anybody for doing that. But no matter how you choose to beat him, he's gone, and now we get to the final half of the game. Time for the Wily stages.
Get the fuck down from there!
And here we are at Wily Stage 1. It's not that great. There's 3 big eyes, which can be annoying if you can't pass through them all, some fire traps, you freeze with the ice slasher, just be sure to wait until the fire comes down. And then after some spike jumps, this room. This is another example of Mega Man 1's very poor RNG. You just have to keep swapping out the screens until little pink dudes don't jump at you, and trust me, it can take a while if you're not lucky. You can't just take the hint either, you will get knocked off the ladder if you do. So after some hope and prayer, we move forward, jump over some more spikes, and then we get to this! This is where I got soft-locked. No matter how long I waited, these guys never came down to let me jump on them. I've mentioned it 100 times before, but the RNG in this game is so bad. It's just the most egregious example of it. And that sucks because despite how this room may look, it's actually not nearly as bad as Ikeman's segment. But after that, you get to the room where the magnet beam is a must, so again, make sure you get that so you can complete the game. And be careful with that weapon because it's also broken! But after probably one of the worst stages in the game, we get to what is, in my opinion, a very fun boss fight. Yeah, fun isn't the word that most people use to describe the Yellow Devil, but after when you learn his pattern, he really puts your reaction time skills to use. I feel like this boss really tests everything you've learned in this game, which is why I don't like using the pause trick glitch against him. I do use the elect beam because it does hit him no matter where his eye is, so it's kinda tedious when you do Buster only. But I'd say the Yellow Devil is a welcome challenge, and with him out of the way, it's time for the next stage. This stage isn't as annoying as it is boring. You go through the same 3 screens with different hazards, and that's all that can really be said about the stage part, really. You do boss refights with Cutman and Electman, like I mentioned earlier. And Cutman's easy, Electman's hard, same story, different day. Some octopus batteries later, and then... oh, Lord! This room is just pure eye strain, and it doesn't help that this is the copy bot fight! Now, I should bring up that I am visually impaired, so while Mega Man 1 just kinda makes me sick as a whole, this room is especially bad. It's easy to get confused as to which Mega Man you are, at least that happened to me. Copybot is also annoying. He's not as bad as Electman, and he has a pattern that kinda makes sense, but he's still too hard to predict. Anyways, you beat him, rest your eyes for a sec, and move on. Yeah, this stage is kind of just whatever. You've probably noticed by now that the Wily stages in this game are really nothing to write home about. While I personally feel like the Wily stages in a lot of Mega Man games aren't as memorable as the Robot Master ones, in this is just okay, it's here, it takes some space. There's also a glitch that can happen in this part where the penguin enemies can show up again alongside the legally distinct bullet bills. I wasn't able to capture it, but it can happen, and it's very silly. And then we meet the cheapest boss in Mega Man history, CWU-01P. Yes, that's its name. I've been a fan for over 10 years, and I've only bothered to learn it now. This boss is infamous for fans for just being an endurance round. It's just, it comes down and then you have to take it out and then rinse and repeat and it gets faster and harder and it's just not fun. Just try to do what you can with the Buster and super arm the rest. What a nothing boss. Here it is, the last stage. There's not really much to say about this one. Pass some spikes, go down the Gutsman corridor, refight the rest of the bosses, and then you meet Dr. Wily. His first phase can be kind of annoying, but you just need to keep moving, and then his second phase has him fire shots with hitboxes that work, I suppose, and then that's it. Congratulations, you beat Mega Man 1. Now tell me, how do you feel? Well, that's it. That was Mega Man 1. Is it a good game? Hell no. Do I like it? Absolutely. I can't help it. I thought it was biased at first and maybe a touch of nostalgia because this was my first Mega Man game, but after beating it for the 5th time, I still can't help but enjoy this game's chaotic nature. It's a glitched mess of code and sprites, it barely functions, and half the gimmicks don't even work. I don't blame people for skipping this one. You're not a fake fan if you choose not to play this game, but goddamn are you a trooper if you stick through it. I'm genuinely surprised Mega Man stuck around after this crash out of an opening, but Capcom believed in the series and look what happened. I genuinely don't think there's a better example of never give up than Mega Man 1. If at first you don't succeed, try again, and you keep trying until you get it right. 0 out of 10. I love this game. And yeah, now here's my proper ending segment to where I sorta kinda script it, sorta kinda don't, just kinda comes from the heart. But that was my genuine thoughts on Mega Man 1. I might do Mega Man 2, but it really depends on if I feel like I have anything to say about it, anything entertaining at the very least. I actually played through this whole game again first before I recorded footage, just to refresh my memory because it has been a few years, but I wanted to get an idea of how I was going to pace this, and well, it would feel disingenuous if I didn't use my own footage for this sort of retrospective review. I don't know what to really call it. I just wanted to talk about Mega Man 1 because as goofy as this title is, I do enjoy it, and now that Mega Man is a talked about topic again, if you want to give this game a look, the Anniversary Collection, it's available on Steam, it's always going on sale, it's dirt cheap now. Honestly, I just want people to talk about Mega Man again. I want people to play the Mega Man games again. This is a very fun series, and I guarantee you you're going to find something that you like. Give Mega Man a chance. You won't regret it. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments section, what you like, what you think I could improve on, and by the way, my patrons got to see this video early, so definitely give my Patreon a look. I offer art commissions as well as other fun little tidbits for my patrons, and I will also link my Blue Sky and my VGen in the description, so I would really appreciate it if you check those out as well. And this is Cyborg Wizard signing off. See you next time.